Coffee time. Grabbing a cuppa. Let's have a coffee chat. Let's have a cup of coffee together. Go down to the workshop. Here, get this doorknob here. Let's see. I'll put you on top of my coffee cup. Hello, friends. Going down to the workshop here with a cup of coffee and headed down the stairway into the wilderness, into the abyss. This used to be, there, no lights on yet. This used to be a mortuary. My house was a, a funeral home when we bought it. It was built in 1900, and it was one of those boarding house type of deals. And my ground current flow interrupter keeps tripping. What's on that thing? I'll have to figure out that circuit. I'm glad it trips, you know? There you go, the glue table, waking up. So I'm doing this video, just one cup of coffee together is what we're gonna share down here in the workshop. Turn the lights on, some lights here at the shaping table. You can probably tell over the history of my videos that I'm not very active right now in board making. I've started working with Life Skateboards out of Muncie, Sam Cook, and working up some really cool approach to crossing the line. So the Makers Movement, where I'm posting this, I have repeatedly clarified the purpose, and not in a corrective way. People get it over at the Makers Movement, that the reason that the Makers Movement exists is to promote the joy of making skateboards. But I wanted to push the line a little bit and make a further distinction in regard to the Makers Movement, because the Makers Movement is not just about how fun it is to make skateboards, but how fun it is also to explore the possibilities of the craft process. And I think a distinction between the craft process and the mainstream standard of skateboard making. The fun of taking the craft process and making it more mainstream. And what I mean by that is, and a little heavy, is what if there was a world in which the skateboarder, when they thought about what is it like to get a new deck, that their default concept was connecting with a craft skateboard maker, a small batch, high quality, high character, authentic relationship skateboard maker. You know, what if the relationship between the skateboarder and the skateboard deck included a personal connection to the one who made their board? And what if it entailed commonly? What if it commonly entailed all the responsibility and accountability of that relationship? You know, a guy's riding a skateboard and he knows that if he gets some unreasonable condition or has some question about whether he could get something different on the next one, just whatever, what if the skateboarder knew they have a guy or a lady who makes their skateboard, and they can ask a question? Hey, can I get a longer nose, a shorter nose? Hey, can I get a flatter concave or a deeper concave? Ironically, The second one is harder to do, a flatter concave versus a deeper concave. But even I have the ability on these very simple rudimentary presses I can wedge the concave top and bottom on the stack and change things. Of course, there's premium pricing on that sort of thing, but I've seen it that knowing that there are options and knowing, I've seen a person who can't rub two dimes together 2 years later ordering something really special, circumstances change, and offering these to just backing up, get out of the weeds with me, backing up, crossing a line from I make skateboards just like for my own satisfaction, which is awesome. And there are lots of like DIY skateboard groups out there that, where it's DIY. I want the makers movement to cross a line from DIY, doing it yourself. I don't want DIY just to mean DIFY, doing it for yourself. I'd like to see people who begin as experimental creatives who are enjoying the idea of doing it themselves. I'd like to see a line crossed more and more often where a person says, yeah, I began making skateboards, just me and maybe a few of my homies, but then I realized I can make 25 of these a month, and I got good at making them. I can make 25 boards a month, and that's 25, maybe 20 people a month that could be enjoying what, I'll tell you this, craft maker, small maker, DIY maker, the odds are very high that the product that you're making, the decks you're making are of higher quality and higher character and greater authenticity and a better relationship with the skateboarder than anything on the shop wall out there. I have correspondence over the years from shops that say that very thing, not just about me, but also about other makers who've put their heads up above the radar and gone ahead and crossed the line into saying, I don't want to just do for myself, I want to provide this for the community. And you're making good stuff, even if your stuff is rough around the edges, even if your stuff isn't perfect. I think one of the best examples among us is Mike Villalobos. Mike runs a very modest, humble operation, very, very, very humble. Mike's got a great pedigree in sponsored skateboarding. He's got a great pedigree in life. And right now, that's where it's at. But there are people who will go from DIY into doing a bigger idea. Yes, bigger. And say, oh, well, 25 boards a month, sold at premium price. I mean, the economics on that are kind of cool. Like if a person makes 25 boards a month and they sell 20 of them, and the boards are good, and the heart is good, and the work is connecting. Good morning, Bryce. Good to see you. If we go from doing it yourself and we take DIY out of the DIFY, doing it for yourself thing, and begin to DIFC, doing it for the community. Now, I don't mean a charity. I mean providing this service to the community. If we begin to really munch on that and really digest that, then what we wind up getting is we get a humble workshop with a few tools where the person can move a few boards to, say, 20 people a month. And that's like 20 times, maybe you'll make $30 off of a deck. That's a good return. You should not be letting your decks go at rock bottoms and lowballing both yourself and other makers. But if you move if you make $30 on a deck and you move 20 of them, I said 30 times 20 is $600. That's nothing to shake a stick at. Like that's a good return on a modest workshop. And in my workshop, I've got I have a small workshop. I have 2 rooms. Paint is the second room. It's in my basement. I have a massive basement. I do, and my basement was a workshop before. It was a mortuary. Hilarious, amazing. But I know that we don't all have that kind of space, and 20 might be a lot for some of you. But things change. You know, you move to a new house, you get a bigger garage, and all of a sudden you can fit a press and a nice bunch of benches, and you can move. You know, you can maybe go, oh, I've got room for 2 presses. Well, 2 presses, pressing 3 at a time. In one day, if on a Saturday, I had some stuff to do at home, or I was, you know, between Zoom calls or something for another job or some sort of thing. Let's see, every 4 hours, and it's 6. If you get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and you press, and so you got on board at 8 and noon, you know, 1 o'clock. That's 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock in the morning and 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And 1 o'clock in the afternoon presses until 6 o'clock, and then 10 o'clock at night. It's the 3. This 3 pressings times. That's 9 boards out of 3 visits to your workshop in one day, right? So that's 9 boards in 3 visits to your workshop, each one about 40 minutes long. Roll in the glue, you know. That's you spent 40 minutes 3 times in one day, and you got 9 decks out of your press. And the time in between, you cut the hedges, you mowed the lawn, you worked on your other stuff, or went to your job, or say before work you put them in, and after home you get home from work, you pop them out, and you pop in another set. You know, that's like just an hour and 20 minutes or so of time, and you have 6 decks a day on that schedule. Throw in some push-ups and some crunches, and in a month you'll be a whole new specimen. This sort of idea, six boards a day. Let's say you did that 3 days a week, and you had 18 boards a week that were coming out of your press, right? So 18 boards. I know it might seem demanding to some of you, and others it might seem lightweight, but I can run 18 boards all the way to paint in like a morning, like 4 hours easy. You know, like I really can. I can run 18 boards in a slug all the way through in a half a day easily. So like if I were putting boards in the press, popping them after work, you know, in before work, pop them and reset them after work. That means every day you've got an overnight pressing, and every day you've got an 8-9 hour pressing. You're making laminate in there that is baked in solid laminate. And you know, I know that we're always working on our concaves. I know we're always trying to progress our tech. I know we have high aspirations that can discourage us, and we see the. You know, I made this board for a friend. It's right here. I made this board for a friend, and it's been sitting in here, and I haven't delivered the order to him because I did it on the wrong concave, and it would take me just minutes to redo this board. I have it pressed up and ready to go. And the paralysis that we experience as solo craft people, I see Chad Crawford on here. Love you, Chad. The paralysis we experience in these small workshops, you know what? Fine. Yes, there are going to be days when you experience the paralysis, and you're going to get past them. And I'll get past this too, and my friend will get his deck. My friend in Colorado. I have 2 projects that are outstanding from my entire career back then. I have 1 deck in that entire career that I failed on, that the customer actually reached back to me and said, just give it to a kid, man. And that was when everything. Mike, I just spent time talking about you. Make sure you go re-listen to this. Mike Villalobos just joined us. So today is about crossing the line. It's about understanding that the Makers Movement is not just about doing it yourself, DIY for yourself, but doing it yourself is, in the Makers Movement, our emphasis is on bringing our do-it-yourself into doing it for our what? Our Gemeinde, our people. So I wanted to spend 1 cup of coffee with you guys here in the workshop to just bring a mental reminder to us that your little tiny operation or your medium-sized operation, Sam Cook at Life Skateboards, he represents, he's not the only representative, but he represents the craft process of hand-rolled glue, long press times, high attention, highly custom graphic, you know, concept. He represents that very well among us as someone who said, I want to scale this up. I want to offer this to the national community, you know, and but I mean, Sam stepped it up with an amazing website and but let's back off of that and just go, what if we wanted to do 10 boards a week, 20 boards a month, 40 boards a month as a brand. I want to put my work out there and have the, income. Guys, you know, times are weird. You guys know I wrapped up my workshop in May, June of 2019. I went off to work for a wonderful company. Then I worked for a horrible company. Then I worked for a Harley Davidson workshop. That didn't work out. Then I went back to the horrible company. Then I went back to the wonderful company. Then I worked at a second Harley Davidson workshop. To say that didn't work out is not quite true. I really enjoyed my time there, very grateful, but it did come to an end. And I've been looking around, and you know, it's weird because I'm in my workshop here. Oh, and then Life Skateboards picked me up like a refugee and said, "Hey, ride." Sam and I are friends. We're 2 hours away from each other, and I thought, you know, and I sold 3 of my presses to Life Skateboards to keep my work out there. I retained one unique mold and my standard mold here, and all I want to do now is help Life Skateboards grow in regard to that step that they're taking to be there for the nation larger. They you know, Sam has got a better arrangement there than I had here in Cincinnati, and with Bryce helping him, those 2 guys are doing something. They're really crossing the line, and he's rolling glue right now as he's watching it. And I'm pointing out this morning as I finish this cup of coffee with you guys that the makers movement is always going to be interested. The motive of this group is to move people. If you're making 1 deck a year and you're happy you know how to make 1 deck a year, then I'm happy for you. That is awesome. Here we are all about that, but I am very interested in the people who are saying, I can make 1 deck a year and be happy, but I'd like to make 10 decks a month, 5 decks a month, and sell 4 and buy a new tool. I'd like to, you see, there's a progressive, you know, attitude toward this that is business positive, that is income aware, that is industry involved, that we're saying we'd like to see makers. You know, I'm not really into the I've always had a dream kind of attitude, but a person who says, I see good work that I can do here. I can do hard work and good work and provide something for the community in a really cool way. And so, you know, 10 boards a month sold at a $30 profit is $300. That's above the cost of glue. If you get your economics right, you should be making $25 to $40 on a board, depending on the custom layup, the how you charge and like that, and how you're pricing. If you're selling 10 boards a month, which is a very modest number of boards to press and move through, even with overhead, nobody can shake their finger at, you know, or put their nose up at $300 extra a month around here. This is good work. This is dignified, awesome, good work that more and more people are discovering, more and more people are being inspired by, and the makers movement will continue to be a place where I'm pushing for all of us to move in those directions. Now, there may be among us some people who are saying, well, I don't want to go that direction. I'm just for me and the homies, or I just want to do personal experimentation. Yes, awesome, because you are serving all of us with your curiosity, your questions fuel the comments. Nobody needs to feel left out in that regard. And, you know, that's not a problem at all. Others among us, I know Cameron Noren. You know, Cameron has gone on to work in a big workshop. I don't want to spill Cameron's beans about but Cameron's gone on to do amazing professional work in the mainstream model. Yes, awesome. We're not iconoclastic here. We're not against, we're not against the mainstream, but I want to bring more and more of this process, it really comes down to a couple of factors here. It comes down to hand rolling your glue. Really, it does. Like when you hand roll that glue, it's making a huge difference. You're so in touch, Now, if you don't hand roll your glue and you're in here, relax, because it's not like a zero-sum game on that. And long press times, other aspects that could be really distinctive are some of you folks are designing your own molds. Some of you guys are building your own molds yourself. That's way out there, man. Like, that is really hard work to do. And if you're doing that, then lots and lots of respect to that. But it's not like a deal-breaking thing. There are great molds that are available for you to start making great decks for people, And I just wanted to share around these things with you. One of the problems with these kind of talks, there are a lot of things I'm not saying here. I'm not saying that you don't belong in the group if this isn't where you're at. Man, your input, your questions, they just drive so much learning. And I'm not saying that the only purpose of this group is to get people into business. That's not true either. This group is a place where the human mind comes together and learns together, and that's super precious. It's more precious than business. But I am saying that I'm interested, always have been. It's always been my evil plan to see more craft attention boards made. Yeah, finding language for this. I mean, seeing this become more common, not less valuable, but become more common. And that's my mind on this morning. And I'm almost out of coffee, time for a refill. And I thank every one of you for spending time with me in the workshop this morning. And it is my sincere hope to do this more often and to develop more of this kind of conversation with all of you. So I'll be exploring ways to do that over the next month or so here. And hopefully we can be busy with doing good work together for a long time to come. Thanks, everybody, and I will be talking at you again soon. Thanks for joining.